Welcome back to the Weekly Roundup, the place where we unpack what's been going on in the yoga and wellness world and what we've been coaching our clients through. I'm here with my fellow coaches, Marija, Bridget, Terri, and I'm so excited because we just got back from our annual Visionary Summit, which
Woo!
is a really cool thing because it's just a bunch of business owners really setting aside time to focus like really good amount of time on where they want to go in the next year. And one of the things that comes out of it every single year is what are your targets? What are your goals for 2026? And it can't just be like something very broad. The more focused your target is, eye of the bird, as we say, the more likely you're going to get there. And so there's a lot of discussion we can have about this. And I guess the first thing is like asking the question for our people that are listening to this, have you even thought about it? Have you started to think about 2026 yet? And what are your goals and how will you get there? Um, we had a really great formula for kind of getting down into like how you get there. And the first thing again is a little bit broad, but still targeted. Like, what is your top goal? You might have a few, but if you can take the top goal and make it very specific, start with that. And then we started to talk with the group about what conditions would need to be in place for this target to actually occur. So it kind of gives you this freedom to be like, well, my intros would have to sell at this rate, or I'd have to increase my sales of YTT or whatever it is. Like you can have quite a few different things that can help you get to that target. And after you've sort of thought through what are these conditions, then we can think about what are the strategies that will create the conditions. So that's a really
Yeah.
good one too. Like you could, because again, there's so many different strategies that might increase your revenue by from X to Y, right? So that's really a good one because then you might have three or four different strategies, but we can rank them in order of importance. So
hmm
again, getting more focused on what's going to move the needle to that top line goal. And then once you've decided on what are the top strategies, then we can look at what are the tasks associated with that. And there is how we come away from the summit with your next 3 months of I do this first and then this second, and then I've got it in my asana and I have everything ready to go. So you leave the summit. I know a lot of people left the summit with like, this is the first thing I'm going to do when I get home.
Yeah.
So long-winded way of like, start your planning now. So what else? What else? What do you guys have to say about
And
it?
that was a brilliant way to wrap it up, Carol. That was basically 4 days of intense work in like 4 minutes.
Yeah, you don't even need, yeah, just have Carol explain
So,
things to you and then you don't need anything else.
so the big thing, gig for me too, and this is what Carol, this is yours on my fourth summit, is that every year refining it down, because when you have those targets, and that's what we started calling them targets instead of goals, because Carol referenced the eye of the bird. You could have, let's say you had 4 targets or 4 goals, but if you shoot arrows at each of them, you can only be so focused at one time. So it's like, what is the eye of the story of Arjuna? When it's not just, he's not just hitting the bird in the tree he's hitting sees the bird in the tree, sees a bird on the branch, sees a tree, sees a bird on the tree, on the branch, sees the eye, hits the eye. So
Mhm.
it's that focused is the first step. And better to have one really, and as Carol, it's like you might have these different targets, but what is the most one you're going to do first?
Yeah.
Because you can't be laser focused on 3 different things at one time. And
Yeah.
so, okay, and we also talked about you should have 3 targets. One is a revenue target. You got to have a revenue
Mhm.
target.
Yeah.
Revenue target should be one of 2 things. It should be either top line revenue growth, gross sales. So increase from, 250,000 to 350,000. Or it could be net profit. For some people, it was net. So I need to increase my net profit from 10% to 15%, because those are two kind of different things. Because when you're looking, because as we all know, you could have top line growth and not improve your net profit. In fact, you have top line growth and have negative profit. Just because you have great sales, if your expenses outweigh that, then it's a net no gain. So that's the case. If your expenses are out of control, maybe your goal is, I need to not focus so much on top line revenue. I need to focus on improving my profitability, which means I need to look at expenses. I need to look at all that stuff. So that could be the target, is to decrease expenses to improve my net profit. So whatever that is, define that. And then to Carol's point, what are the conditions? And if you have 3 conditions, improve intro sales pipe, whatever it is, it's like, what's the number one thing that's going to do it first? Like she said, really prioritize. Then the strategies, if you have 3 strategies, what's the one strategy we're going to do first? So it was really about each one, you're drilling it down, and then that's the thing we're working on, as Carol said, first. Because all too often we have all these things happening and we're like, and I'm guilty of this, we're like the little bean, the little flea, jumping, I'm going to work on this thing a little bit, then, I can go over here. No, boom.
Yeah.
And one of my clients who just went through a major rebranding and there's just a lot of stuff happening at the studio. And because of that, sales went way down for a good thing. So they have one target next year, one only. It's increase revenue to the dollar amount they need it to be at, where they were before all this shit hit the fan. That's it. So if you're in the place where it's like, this is a fire and I only have so much bandwidth, this is the one thing, the most impactful thing I'm going to do. So that's a revenue goal. Then we talked about having a personal goal. Like maybe the personal goal is, I just got off a call with a client and we decided her most impactful goal for her right now is not revenue. She's in the weeds too much in her own business. She's not, she wants to be able to spend more time. She has like middle school age kids. She struggles to take a vacation. And it's like, for her, what's going to help her grow the business is freeing her own personal time up, getting rid of some of the tasks she's doing and finding someone to take that over.
Yeah.
So that's that type of goal. And then the final type of goal we talked about is, or a target, is an impact target. And an impact target could be an impact with your team, with your community, your clients, or within your community at large, wherever, whatever your city you're in. Maybe you're doing whatever it is. And then those are the 3 basic types of targets you should have, ideally. And then which 1, 2, 3. And again, like I said, it is okay just to have one target.
Yeah.
So Bridget, what are you looking? And Marija, you guys both still have studios. So after hearing that, what for you would be like the target? Arjuna, eye of the bird.
Yeah. Well, I was actually going to ask really quickly, do you have a couple examples of impact goals?
One of the studio owners, their impact was actually to increase the salary or the pay of their teachers.
Oh, I love that.
So
Yeah.
it does impact, it can be community driven, like you want to maybe have, I don't know, be a part of the school system and teach yoga there or something. You could do something like that, so that you're being seen and you're part of the wider community. That could be one thing, but it could be something as simple as that. Like, so the of as simple as increasing the pay for your teachers. So what's interesting is these other targets can feed your
Yeah,
impact goal.
Yeah.
totally.
Another
Cool.
one this was for a couple clients, was improve their retention, because that is an impact target, because we know that if they improve their retention in terms of like months on membership, like if
Yeah.
someone has a habitual yoga practice or fitness, regular wellness routine, that they're going to have a better quality of life. We know that. It's not just us making bullshit. It's like all over everything, right? Age gracefully, age healthy, all of those things enable to do that. You need to have some type of physical activity. So that is an impact goal for their client community. And obviously, if you have people retained longer, that is going to tie into your revenue goal or your revenue
Yeah.
target. However, that is really, if you think about it, that has impact on somebody's life.
Yeah. Oh my God,
So
totally.
that could be another type of an impact goal. And so, yeah, so it's like thinking of it as the impact. It could also be an impact to yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's maybe a goal it could be a personal goal, but also it could be an impact goal. So some of these things can go in different categories. There's no right or wrong to it. What
Yeah.
is the process of how you get there is the important part, and identifying what it is, and identifying that I cannot do all these, I cannot do three things at once.
Yeah.
Multitasking is one of the biggest fallacies, biggest lies we have sold ourselves
Yeah.
in recent years, and recent, this whatever, is like more and more studies have shown that we really can only focus on one thing at a time. And so it's like giving yourself that, again, we always talk about laser focus, but how do you get laser focused? So that's what we have now, is with the summit and how we've structured this, is now you have an idea. This is how you get laser focused.
Yeah. That's so cool. Um, I was going to ask another question. So if someone didn't go to the summit and they are just looking at the end of the year and they're looking at 2026, like so I love start with these three things, but like, so if they're going to pick like so okay so they sit down, say this is their first time ever, maybe they've been open for years, but this is their first time ever even looking at goals, which I could definitely relate to at some point back there in history. um what do you look at? So you look at your revenue, and then is it a stab in the dark for what your revenue goal is? Should you base it around like your expenses? Should you base it around a certain percentage of growth? Like, where do they start with that?
Great question.
Thank you.
Well, one thing is, you definitely should be, if you are underwater, meaning your expenses exceed your revenue, that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
It's like, I need to get at least to the point where, one of your clients, no, actually, it was, I think, one of your clients, Bridget, is like, I'm not paying myself.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to start paying myself. I got a loan to pay off. So that could be like, all right, I need to be here. I need,
Need to make
for
this.
me personally, when I took over my studio, it was definitely, I knew there was a lot of potential there. And so this was my goal for the first about year. It was one and one thing only. I was kind of did this without even realizing it. I looked at my total expenses, which included my pay, included paying back my loan and paying everything. I divided that by the cost of my membership.
Yeah.
And I needed this many members to
Yeah.
break even.
Yeah.
And that was my 100% focus, was getting people, because when I bought the studio, there were 25 people on members on auto pay, which I processed manually every month. Because
Oh my
in
God.
2015, we had no computer system. Anyway, I've talked about that before. So that was my first goal. It was like, I want to have my memberships pay my expenses, because then all that other revenue, like class cards and drop-ins and intro offers and occasional workshop, that all was profit.
Yeah.
So that's one simple way. If you're underwater, that's a great one. It's a very easy one to calculate. What are my expenses, total expenses? What's my monthly membership or whatever that is? Divide it. There's your first goal right there.
Yeah.
And that could be as simple as that. That is, talk about eye of the bird. And then
Yeah, I love
using this scenario, okay, my revenue goal is to get 150 members, right? Then, all right, what conditions have to be met for me to hit that revenue goal? What would some of the conditions have to be to get 150 members? What would you have to do? I'm asking the question because I can tell you, but I want you guys to tell
you'd have to have leads in the, you'd have to have X amount of leads in the door every month. You'd have to increase your lead conversion from intro offer to membership, you know, like these are the things. And then also you'd have to make sure they're not all canceling. You
So,
know.
okay, there you have it. A condition one, I need to have X number of people coming through my door every month. And of those people coming through, I need to have them to convert to my goal offer at this percent. And then of those people that have my goal offer, I need this percent to end up on membership. Those are three conditions that if achieved, I would hit that goal, right?
Yep.
So that's where you start. And then,
Yeah.
okay, strategy one, I need to get more people. That's the lead gen. I
Yeah.
need to do, we talked a lot, Carol, we talked a lot about that last week.
Yeah, well, I mean, it goes back to KPIs too. Like maybe you are getting enough people in the door, but like
Yeah.
when we drilled it down, it might be very clear that actually we have enough people in the door, and if we the highest impact thing would be, and maybe we're really good at converting intros to membership, but we're not great at getting new people onto intro. So the highest impact goal in this scenario would be like we need to work on our intro conversion rate.
Yeah.
And so if that were the case in this scenario, then for a full quarter at least, you're doing everything you can to support that strategy. So there might be other strategies like, yes, we might need, if we got more people in the door and we're great at converting people onto intro, then that's also going to support it. But in this moment right now, can we identify the highest impact thing?
Yeah.
And so that would be the first thing we would work on. Because I think the thing is, you're never not going to be busy, right? As
Yes.
a student owner, there's always like stuff to be busy on. But
Yeah.
what we get distracted on is like this, oh, this person came to me and they want to do a workshop. And then this person is presenting like that they want to add this new class to the schedule. And so we get really involved in these other things that if we could just say no, because no is a full
Yeah.
sentence.
Yeah.
And so, right, if we just get really clear, like, I'm not entertaining any of this
Yeah.
because my focus right now is this one strategy and
Yeah.
I want that to happen. So that's part of this whole process as well, is recognizing like where we get distracted, we get pulled away. It's so easy to do. So yeah, like I think going back to the strategies, you just start to prioritize which one is going to be the highest impact. So maybe
Yeah.
quarter one, you go with that first strategy, and then Q2, you do the next strategy. And we've said maybe the goal, the target date is end of 2026, but if you hit it by June, you can start another target.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And conversely, in that exact scenario, is if you haven't hit that conversion rate by the end, you stick with it. You
Yeah.
stay until
That's your
you
goals for
get
2027 too.
that could be, all right, we're not there yet. We are
Yeah.
not there yet. So we, rather than saying, oh, I've got to do this, no.
Yeah.
Because I call it the leaky bucket, and I work with the KPIs. We work with clients all the time, do KPIs. It's like, I got more leads. It's like, look, if we turned on that lead pipeline, your bucket, it's like you're just pouring in and pouring out.
Yeah.
So really in this scenario where it is the conversion, you got enough leads coming in, it's conversions, get the conversions dialed in first. then you want more leads coming in, then you crank it up, because then you know your team is capable of converting those people. And just so we're really, really clear about what we mean by conversions, because this did come up. If you think, well, what the heck do you mean by conversions? So pretty much everybody has some type of goal offer, whether it's half off the first month of membership, or it's a classic, a traditional intro, like Bridget at Honey Yoga. It's 3 weeks for $55, right? I was just on your website yesterday. I was showing this.
I was like, wow, Terri, that's amazing.
Well, there are people
Amazing memory.
there are websites I like go-to websites on
Yeah.
coaching calls for different things, and you have a great, because you are doing a traditional intro offer. You are a great, Honey Yoga is a great example of someone that has a really good, like, you land on the page, it's like the home page, and it's like very clear where I'm going to go next. I click this and it takes me to a landing page that talks about why I should do the intro offer at Honey Yoga, right?
Yeah.
So oh God, senior moment, guys. Where was I going with this? Conversions, yes. Okay, so what we're talking about conversions is, for Honey Yoga, that is the goal offer, $55 for 3 weeks. If someone comes in when we lands at the studio on their first visit and they have not purchased that $55 for 3 weeks, we have to convert them to it. So if they came in on a drop-in, a guest or buddy pass, a comp class, class pass, gym pass, boss pass, Glam Pass, I've seen that. Glam Pass, believe it or not. Glam Pass, Groupon, fill in the blank. We are going to do our level best to say, hey, Marija, I see you came in on a guest pass today. That is so awesome that your bestie Carol brought you in today. To start, what most people do is our Honey Yoga intro offer. And for you today, it's only going to be $25 for 3 weeks of unlimited yoga. And use of it. And the reason I said $25 instead of $55, because I think Bridget's drop-in is $30.
35.
35. All right.
So
So
it's
it's actually
20 bucks.
$20. Because you're what?
I know.
So here's the
Crazy.
deal. That $35 is the cost of acquisition of that client. Therefore, on a buddy pass, we're only going to give them the difference between that, what a drop-in, which is 35, and the intro. So the buddy gets it for $20.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about conversion. Same thing with a drop-in, same thing with it. It's like, we have to pitch it to the person. And here's part of the strategy is you train your team to do that. And if they're not doing it, guess what? You need a new team.
It's so funny that you say this, Terri, like this exact example, because this is exactly what our singular focus has been. We've just noticed that our guest passes to conversion to intro were just getting so bad. Like they used to be really solid, and then suddenly it was just like 10% or something so crazy. And so we identified that obviously by looking at our KPIs. And this is actually one of those deeper layer KPIs that it doesn't always show up right away. You have to kind of dig in a little bit, but that's super important. And so, yeah, we have this goal now of 50% conversion of those guest passes to our intro offer. And it was our singular focus. So we had all of these different strategies that we've been working on. And that was like, it's when we have our sales meeting, it's the only thing we talk about, even though there are other sales stuff that's important in our orbit. But like this was our singular focus, or this is currently our singular focus. So I've got my manager going and she's literally she's watching what's going on when all of our staff is there. We're talking about it in all of our sales meetings. We're mentioning it in our Slack channel. And yeah, so it's a great example of a good goal.
So that's basically how you do it. This is how we do it. Right? It is, and the process itself is fairly straightforward. And I'm not saying there's not a lot of work that goes into it, but when you do have that focus, you'll have to read how long you've been doing this now. How long have you been giving this attention, Bridget? What time frame has this been the focus?
Been about 6 weeks. So
6
I'm
weeks.
actually due for a check-in with my manager
Yeah.
about it all.
So that would be great to see, okay, where are we at? And because what is it? That what gets attention gets changed, or there's whatever that quote is.
Where your attention
Attention
goes,
goes,
something flows, your energy flows or something, where your
yeah.
energy goes. Yeah, something like that.
That Josh is one of Josh's favorite expressions is, and that's the critical part of it, is that you optimize, right?
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to look at a note. I actually pull it up here real quick. There is there's a way to kind of process, like, how do I know what to do in some of these cases, to your point. I want to look at the if you're stuck on something, we call it the unstuck formula. So you can write this down. Is the first thing, you have to measure something. So in your situation, Bridget, it's like, okay, let's measure that. Oh, we found out our Buddy Pass guest conversion was only 10%. That's a problem. So we measure something. Then education. Okay, the education is, we got to train the team. We got to do this, this, and this. Then the third is just do it. Take action. So you've measured something. You've educated the people that you need to educate, whether it's in this case, it would be not just the front desk, it would be the teachers as well, because yes, they have a real huge role in this process.
Yeah.
Even if they're not the one actually doing the sale, they do still have a huge role in the process of this. And then we got to just take the action, even if it's imperfect plan and you're not, because sometimes with things like that, when you're doing something like this, you will make changes. It's like, ooh, this isn't working. There's something to figure out. So you just got to do it, because an imperfect plan executed really well is better than a perfect plan that's never executed. Then here's the step that often people will skip. And this goes back to what we talked a lot about, especially with the Legion and stuff like that, is then volume. Let's do more of it. Okay, so we got this dialed in. We've done it. We've optimized. We've measured. It's going. Let's do more of this. And the volume is the skill. I'm referring to my notes on my phone, which is why I keep. So the volume is the skill. And that's where we get better at training our team. They get better at, okay, we've got guest passes nailed. Now let's go. And we've got drop-in and guest passage, which are two pretty fairly easy ones to do. Now let's tackle the big one, the big kahuna, class pass or group, those social passes. Because those are definitely a harder conversion. So let's get really good at these two, and then we've got more skill to do it. So now we have confidence to try some of these, like, oh, we never can convert ClassPass. Well, let's take our newfound skills. Let's figure out a plan, maybe a slightly different plan. And let's see what we can do with ClassPass. So we improve it, we optimize it, and then we can innovate, do a new thing or not. But that's really how you get, if you're feeling stuck and where do I start? This is where you start. Just start by measuring something.
Yep, exactly.
I'm just looking at some of the, oh yeah, yeah. So that's how you do it. Does that answer your question, Bridget?
Yeah.
Carol,
Totally.
any other thoughts on that?
No. You explained it so well, Terri.
And that was a complete sentence.
No, it was the one that I wish I had written that down. I'm glad you brought that up, because it's measuring and education, taking action, I think, is sometimes where the hardest part, for at least for me. I want things to be perfect, and done is better than perfect. So I mentioned that on a call recently, and the studio owner was like, "You're so right. That's where I get stuck, is that I want it to be perfect. And, sometimes you just have to go and then you measure it again, optimize it again. It's oftentimes never completed either, right? Because the education, maybe you get a new team member, or, your team members will start to kind of veer off the script a little bit, or things will sort of settle in and they're not doing exactly what we had talked about in the beginning. So you got to pull it back to the way things you want them done. So it's kind of a constant education thing, and making sure that everything is optimized and doing the things you want it to do in your business. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
that's
sometimes,
a really
like,
good one.
it's a good one because we uncovered with a client recently, we've done this before, is they've been wanting to hire a general manager because they really could use a general manager, 2 locations, this and that. And we looked at their conversion, we realized it's not where it could be, because, and this is a huge focus. In fact, they've booked an on-site. We're going to their studio here in the new year for this exact purpose. And with, if they didn't even get any more people in, that we do this a lot. It's like, if you want to see how you can make revenue without even getting any more new people in the door, particularly if you've been in business for a while, you got your KPIs, look at the difference between, if I'm at this rate now, let's say I'm at 40% conversion and I convert at 70%, what does that represent in terms of dollars? And we did that exact formula we've done it a number of times. And basically it would have paid for more. They could have hired a 6-figure manager and still been ahead. So it's like,
Yeah.
there's their manager,
Yeah.
right? And so they could have seriously hired and paid someone 6 figures with a full benefits package and still been money ahead,
Yeah.
just on improving their conversions. This is why that laser focus thing.
Yeah. I think that's the laser focus thing, I think, is so, so, so important as people look at the new year and look at their goals, and really, like, I mean, how much do we all see? Everyone on this call sees this burnout. We talk about it all the time, like this burnout happening. Everybody's always so burned out and nothing's ever getting done. And I could work 100, I always say I could work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and still not, and like I would still have more to do. And how many of those clients that we all have and ourselves, are they focused on so much stuff that is not at all contributing to any of these goals? And I really think, if you are listening right now, like, really start paying attention every day. What are you spending? Like, what have you just blown 3 hours on? And is that in any way contributing to the things that are actually going to be needle movers for you in your business? And I think, honestly, like, good call out, Terri, about the workshops thing. Or was that Carol? I can't remember. Someone said workshops, and it's so funny. Like, this is such a main thing. And it's always like, it's workshops, or it's always something their teacher is asking them for, like, it's always something. And it's just like, mm, mm. One thing I'm really guilty of is, like, I get this great idea for this entirely new project that's like, to, like, an entirely new training or whatever that I want to run or whatever. And then suddenly I'm just like, it's snowballing, and suddenly I'm way down the rabbit hole of this, like, whole new project. I got really good this year with, like, our move and everything. I have cut out so much stuff. I didn't do a YTT this year for the first time in a long time. What else did I just got rid of something. Oh, I didn't do this is like a little thing, but I realized it was just too much of my energy would have to go into it. But, like, we always do 108 sun salutations on Thanksgiving morning. And this year I was just like, no, I don't have time right now. Like that's not, I don't even want to spend the 2 hours or whatever it's going to take me to like create a page and like whatever and get that, get people signed up and stuff. And it's just like, no, like you have to, and sometimes those things feel sad and hard. Not having our 108 for the first time in 8 years of business, that felt a little sad. Not doing YTT, that felt a little hard because I was also like, that is revenue, but ultimately it would have distracted me from these other
Yeah.
things. So I think it's such a great sort of wrapping up the year reflection point and thinking about 2026 and what do you actually really super want out of your business? And if you really, really super want it, then that is what you should be spending your day-to-day hours on.
And you made a good point about what did I just spend the last 3 hours on? So we talked about this at the very beginning of the summit is if you haven't done this, this is a very interesting exercise is do a log for like 2 weeks.
Mhm.
Okay, then this last hour I've done this, I mean, put it in a voice note,
Yeah.
right? Whatever you write it down on a piece of paper, but then at the end of that, and this is where we did a lot of talking about AI last week. This is where AI can be great. It's like, okay, take all
Yes.
of that, put it in AI and say, add this up, tell me, and then you're going to look and say, oh my gosh, I spent 6 hours doing this nonsense thing instead of. So that's another good place to start. It's like, well, how am I going to find the time? Well, figure out what you're doing now and get that granular. Do it for at least 2 weeks. Feed it into chat, get a readout, and then, okay, now I know. And then we also we do this every year, and we talk about a lot, is time blocking,
Hmm.
right? So do you have a dedicated time that you're working on the business? Like for me, I did payroll. My Monday for me was the day I didn't go into the studio. Unless I was practicing, but even then I would sometimes not practice because my office was at home because my studio I didn't have the space, but I knew if I went to the studio, then you get sucked into stuff. And
Hmm.
so this is one thing where maybe it can be if you have an office at the studio, maybe you spend one day a week at home or someplace else because it's so easy. And I've seen this when we go on site, it's so easy to get distracted. It's nice. Oh, yes, it's nice having an office at the studio because it's out of the house, but then you're too accessible and you're all of a sudden you're pulling, oh, the water deliveries here, or this happens, or this happens. Um, but for me, Mondays was like my office day. I did payroll, I did my books, and I would do that type of stuff. So do you have some time on your calendar? And mark it as a meeting. And think about it, those, that if you're teaching as well, it's like, would you decide to blow off teaching a class to go have coffee with a friend? Probably not. Right?
Hmm.
The only time you probably blow off teaching if you woke up and you were really sick or emergency, then you're finding a sub. But it's just like, oh, Carol called me and I didn't do this thing because Carol called and I ended up meeting her for coffee. Well, no. Hey, Carol, I'd love to do that. However, I have a meeting I have to get ready for.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell people what the meeting is.
Yeah, you don't have to be like, it's my time block
It's my
for
time
doing
block
my
for doing
payroll and
this.
my
Right?
yeah.
But it's like if you say to someone, I'm so sorry, I'd love to go out to lunch with you today, Carol. I'd love to do this, Marija. Yeah, how about can you do it another time? Maybe you make a date another day, but make that sacrosanct. The same thing as if you're teaching. It's like, unless it's a true emergency, you're not gonna give that time block up.
Yeah.
Marie, what you've been awfully quiet there
This
with
is
your
how you
pink
get.
hoodie. I said, Marie, you've been awfully quiet with your pink hoodie on there, sweetie. What are you working on for next year? What are you thinking with all of this stuff?
I'm thinking a lot of things.
Okay.
Yeah. As
I'm
happens.
thinking a lot of things. Every time I get on these roundups, I'm just like furiously making notes, and then I'm like, I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah,
Well,
totally.
okay, so let's use you because Maria, those of you who don't know, just opened her own studio. Yay, Maria. And so what do you think your most high impactful thing you can do next year is? The target, the eye of the bird.
Oh,
And if you don't have it,
honestly,
identify it.
It's like this is tough. I think I am very guilty of spreading myself too thin and getting into too many things at the same time. I'm very guilty of that. I think I'm Superwoman, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, like I've gotten nothing done. And so I think honestly, the most impactful thing that I can do next year for my business is focus on my business.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just like get super granular and like, yeah, revenue is a big one. So like what conditions need to be met in order for me to get to a point where my revenue is paying for my expenses. And I'm kind of already at that point, but it could be better. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, and I could be paying myself more. Like I think I paid myself like $900 last month or something. Like,
Yeah. That's, yeah.
right? Like that's not enough money. But
No.
so that being inclusive in the expenses. And then yeah, like yeah, it's all really like sinking in that,
Yeah.
you just really need that singular focus.
Yeah.
Well, you're working, so which is normal at the beginning because you're teaching most of the classes, which is very common when you first open a studio. You're exactly right, Maria, because you just said the words like, I need to be working on my business. And right now you are working in your business so much.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really fun goal if I could like put words into your mouth that you didn't say, but like maybe having another teacher, like having, or more teacher. I know you have one, right?
You have one, yeah.
But
Thank God. Like,
yeah, thank God.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I've told her I'm grateful for her so many times this last week while I've been like so
Aw.
sick. I like couldn't
Yeah.
speak, so I
Uh,
couldn't teach. I was just like, oh my God, I am so grateful for you.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. That's good.
uh,
Here's a
so
fun
yeah.
fact. When you mentioned $900 last month, that's what I was paid as a retail store manager as a salary for full time in 1983.
Oh man.
Like, I'm thinking back on that. Man, I used to make $900 a month back in 1983. I thought, woohoo!
Yeah, that paid for my groceries last month. Like,
Well, I'd like to come back to something, Bridget, you also said about, well, how do you set a goal? Because we did talk about that in terms of what do I shoot for? Obviously,
Mhm.
at the beginning, it's fairly straightforward. It's going to grow exponentially as the business improves, and you can get that 50% year over year for the first few years. Hopefully, you're getting that. Um, because it's a new studio and you're at scaling up. But once you've been around for a while, like Honey Yoga and my studio and Carol, my former studio, your former studio, is what should I be setting for a goal? And we talked a lot about this is like at the very minimum, just to keep pace of inflation and costs and things like that, minimum 10%. Because if you're not growing at least 10%, 8 to 10% a year, you're basically you're going backwards.
Right,
You're
you're
going backwards.
regressing,
You're
not growing.
regressing. So minimum, and then there's different things they say. Research shows that depending on how long you're open, like first 5 years, you can expect 30-40%. When you've been open much longer, or once your revenue, I mean, it's much harder if you're doing $1 million a year to get a 20% revenue increase as if you're doing $100,000 a year. So those are definitely some things that you can look at, but the very minimum 10% is like a peg. And if you're in the first 5 years, it should be much higher than that. Heck, we have clients. One of our clients, they'll give her a shout out, Kristen Sapp, who's been to every single summit. I mean, she's still maintaining. She just celebrate 14 years, I think, this month or last month, and she's still getting double-digit sales, like over 20% sales growth year over year, even after this time. So it is possible, right? So anyway, you just got to kind of look at your market where you're at. And then the other thing is, okay, what is a realistic goal if you're listening for first visits? And Carol, what's the formula again for that? There's,
Well, you take your serviceable market, because it's not the entire population, you have to weigh, age, income, things like that, that will take people out of your serviceable market and divide that by 1,000. And that's the number that we would expect to come in each month. So for simplification, I don't know if I can do the numbers right.
Well, if your serviceable market is 100,000,
Mhm.
then
Right.
you should be
100.
anticipating about 100
100,
first
yeah.
visits a month.
Mhm.
And the other thing with serviceable market, if you're in a big area, metro market, is you may be a metro market of, let's say, 2 million. However, like St. Louis is probably a good example, Carol. It's like if someone's on the west side, are they going to drive all the way across? Probably not, with
No.
traffic
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got to look at maybe your serviceable market, if you're in a dense urban area, might be within a couple of blocks of your
Mhm.
studio, like certainly New York, someplace like, so you got to kind of look at it that way too, in terms of what your serviceable market is. So yeah, so for every, yeah, that's 1,000 for every whatever, and for 100,000, that's 100 people. So again, if you're in a very small rural market, you're not going to be getting 100 first visits a month.
Yeah. Mm.
Maria, have you done the calculation for your market?
Yeah. I
Which,
like 20 first visits per month. And that's like generous considering like I took there's a neighboring town is only 10 minutes away,
right?
right? It's not far.
Yeah,
And people are starting to come.
yeah, that's
Like I'm
good.
starting to get people from Squamish coming into the studio, which is so sweet. And when I asked them how they found us, they were like, "Oh, we saw your ad on Instagram." I'm like, "Yes,
Yay.
it's working."
Yay!
And like they're bringing friends, right? They're bringing their friends in and like yeah, so it's happening. It's happening. So yeah, about 20 visits a month is sort of my target.
Bridget, what about you? Because you're in San Diego, California. What's your serviceable market?
I haven't done this calculation in a really long time. Probably since I worked with the YC myself as a client, and I have no recollection. How, like, is it based on radius? Because in San Diego, for instance, like, no one would in their right mind buy an intro offer from me if they live in Ocean Beach, even though Ocean Beach is technically probably like less than 10 miles. But so is it just like a radius or how?
That's
I
part
would
of
look
it.
at, yeah,
That's
that's part of it.
yeah.
You could look at, what's the radius around the studio?
Mhm.
And then also you could look at businesses. So, because, if you're in like a market like that, maybe I live in Ocean Beach, but I work 3 blocks from the studio and I could take a class right after work. So that's
Mhm.
the other thing that can go into that calculation, is what, if you're in an urban area, what other businesses, and this is where you like looking at timing your classes. All right, if everybody around here gets off at 5, I'm not going to have a class that starts at 5. Maybe I have the class that starts at 5:30. Kind of
Right. But
look
how
at,
would I know, like, how would I factor in what other business, like, how would I get that number, like,
are there
yeah.
any, I mean, what businesses are in your area? And then what do you think, I mean, like, you have a major employer in the area, that's easy to go and find out, okay, how many people are employed and what percentage would come. I mean,
So that's how you get the number. So you have to like go through every like school that's there. Like,
well,
I
I
just,
mean,
I
you could,
still don't get how you get the serviceable number.
the serviceable number is like, hey, what's a 5-mile radius around my studio? And this
Mm-hmm.
is where chat can really help you now. Okay, this is okay, how many people do they think live in that area?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's that. How many businesses are in this area?
Okay.
This would be really interesting for you to do, to use chat for this. It's like, here's my studio. What is the 5-mile radius around? How many people live in that radius? How many businesses are in that radius?
Mm-hmm.
In the old days, I would just, look, okay, there's that bit, can you name 5 businesses in your area right now?
I
Local business.
mean, like a coffee, would a coffee shop count? Because
Coffee shop would count.
In my
yeah,
mind,
then
I'm
I
thinking like a major employer. Like we have
yeah,
BJC, like a huge hospital, like right in
right.
this central corridor, like right there. So
Mhm.
it's a huge population of people that are working. So that might be something to consider. I don't know if I would think, when I've done this calculation, I haven't really thought about that. I think it's a great idea for something big. Like we have a Boeing plant here. Like, if my studio were near that, I might consider something like that.
Yeah.
But more so, I'm thinking of what would be a reasonable amount of drive time
Yeah.
because we don't have
Mhm.
public transportation here. I would think, 15 minutes for sure, maybe 20. And then I would look at that as the like population around the studio. And then I would from there say, okay, if that many people live here, usually you're cutting it in half. It's sort of a
Yeah.
simple
Yeah.
calculation. You say like half of these people they're not the age that we're looking for. Maybe they don't have the income. Maybe they don't, there's just all these reasons why probably half would be correct.
Yeah.
And that's the number you would divide by 1,000 to get your
Yeah.
potential, like your goal monthly first
And
visit.
is there a standard radius that we use?
It,
I don't know because again, that goes to city specific. If I'm
yeah.
in New York City, it might be like Terry was saying, it could be
Six
half
blocks.
a mile because it's a
Yeah.
block situation. Whereas where I live, everyone's driving.
Yeah.
So that's where it is city specific.
Yeah. It's yeah, because you got to take in like the rate, it's like the drive. And not just the drive, because in Southern California, it's not how far, it's like anybody, you ask somebody how long, how long does it take to get, how many, whatever it's like to get here? Oh, it takes 30 minutes. Well, how many miles? I don't know. It's 30 minutes
Hmm.
because it can, depending where you're at, 30 minutes could be like 3 miles because
Hmm.
traffic is so bad. Or if you have to go across town, like going through a downtown during certain times of the day takes far longer. So those are things you definitely need. That's where Carol said it's city specific. And this is where if you're listening to this is where you have to do some good old fashioned research. I mean, get out and walk around your neighborhood for goodness sakes. Like to your point, the coffee shop, there could be a couple of baristas in there that might be interested in your product. There could be a dental office, a chiropractor. This is where we had this client years ago, and before she opened, she made a list of every single physical therapist and chiropractic office in her town, and she went by every single one of them individually with a flyer and introduced herself
Hmm.
before she opened.
Oh,
Right? Sometimes you just do have to do some good old fashioned research beyond
yeah.
chat even.
Yeah.
Right. Um, so yeah, so if you don't know, that could be that could be a task on a strategy to more leads. Like, okay, what is task? Find out what my servable market area is. Bridget, put that on your task list.
I will.
Because that's okay, I want so many leads coming in. Well, that is strategy. Okay, task, what is my serviceable market? So
I
I
think like
know realistically what that number should be.
Yeah.
I keep thinking too, just like product market fit
Yeah,
as well should be like another consideration here because like
totally.
Squamish, Britannia, the town that I live in only has 400 people. Like if you expand the bubble because everybody drives here and there's no public transit and you know 10 minutes up the road is not a far way to go, right?
Right.
So that expands the serviceable market, but then within that also, it's just like, okay, but like who is your target avatar? Like who are you looking at? And Squamish is like a really unique place in that like a huge percentage of the population here rock climb, mountain bike. Like it's like the recreational capital of the world. Like there is so much to do, explore, and see here, and it attracts that type of person. So like does your product fit that market, regardless of the serviceable size that we would
Right.
normally coach to? It's just like, does the product market fit?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like
So in that market, you're probably not going to open I don't know, maybe not, maybe those like athletes. You're like, like, I think you're yoga for athletes. You're not probably
I
going
am.
to do like
Yeah.
chair yoga.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not going to do certain types of classes because it's like, that's not my product. That's not what this market dictates.
Yeah.
Conversely, if you are in, let's say God, now I can't, I don't want to say that because I'm there. I could be there, the retirement community. Or maybe, I don't know, but like a community that would want chair yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then that could be something that you offer. Actually, I have a friend that has a studio. This isn't something she did, which I thought was great. She is in Florida, and there is a market there, and so she has what are those bands on the wall? The TRX bands.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So mobility, it's Florida, mobility issues, people aren't necessarily in the best of shape, so she has some classes that use TRX bands, like to help people. If you can't even squat, you can't even come out of a squat kind of thing. They're not so that's an example of a very unique class that she has, very limited. I think she only has 10 TRX stations. But those classes, at least when she added them, they were very popular, right? So there's a product market fit, for example. And we did talk a lot about that last week. What is your product? And you can't just say yoga anymore. That's not going to cut it. And yoga for everybody, you want to get Josh riled up? Just say yoga for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, we had a client there that she signed up. We had actually one spot left to the summit, and we didn't even. She signed up 2 weeks before. And so Josh said that, and she immediately, oh shit, I gotta get that off my website. And the reason we say that is, to Maria's point, is product market fit. Because if you try to do yoga for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
then it's probably, you're not going to appease anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, everybody says it, and it doesn't mean anything. And if you have so few moments to catch someone's attention, don't say some shit that doesn't actually
Mean
I mean,
anything.
not that it doesn't mean anything. I don't want to like diminish. I get why you want to say that, because we do want everybody to know that like yoga is for them. But ultimately, it just comes down to like, you've only got so much space in the marketing world and on your website, and literally just, you got to say something more impactful than what they're going to see on everybody else's website.
Well, I go back to Carol has a client. I did an on-site at her studio, and it's just, she created a sanctuary because it's all restorative, deep relax. Because she said, in my market, there's tons of power yoga. That's not what resonates with me. And it's the studios. It's called Loveland. It's called Resilient Soul. And I can tell you, when I walked in and did this.
Yeah,
I felt like I walked. Yeah.
She calls it a spiritual speakeasy because
Yeah.
you don't know that what's behind these doors until you walk in.
I need that so bad right now. Like I'm just like drooling just thinking
it's
about
just
that.
you
Like
walk
I
in
need to be there.
and talk about sensual. I mean, it's like it smells good. The
Like
music.
Oh
It's like a spa. It really is. It is like a spa, but it's a little edgy,
Shout out to Susan.
Shout out to Susan. Get that Resilient Soul Yoga, because I have been in hundreds of yoga studios in the last 20 plus years, and I've never been stopped in my tracks like that before, except
I love that.
an OG Bikram studio, which the smell stops you in your track. You're like, oh yeah, this is a yoga studio, right? Of which I was one. So that's
oh wow, yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, isn't it beautiful?
Yeah.
It's like you walk in and it's just that's her vibe, because
So
like
cool.
This is what I believe in to reset the central nervous system. You know, there's plenty of power yoga places here. Again, great that they have that, but this is, so that's everybody is not going to come to that because if you're a power yoga type person or a Bikram type person, or you want hot yoga, that's not where you're going to go.
Yeah.
In fact, my yoga was actually taking one of those classes and being okay, being still, you know, and not a heated room. I told it it was good for me. It seriously took me about 10 minutes to like, it took all of my just like, oh God, this is just to like, it's cold in here. It's cold.
It's cold in here.
It's cold in here. And
It's
everybody else
cold
is
in
like,
here.
and I'm like, it's cold in here. Like, no, just stay with
Yeah.
it. Just stay with this here. Just work through it. And the teacher was lovely. And I actually was a class, I asked her afterwards and she said, yes, it was a very gentle flow class. And again, not typically my jam, but once I got into it, it was a very lovely class. The teacher was awesome. And here's the thing, she had curated her playlist for that class. I mean, it was the transitions between postures, the music transition. It was really, and I actually said, oh yeah, I do. And I'm like, that, we talked a lot about that. And you're going to be hearing more about it, is a compelling class.
Mm.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. We did a lot of time. We've talked a lot of last week about what is a compelling class. And
Love
so, yeah, maybe we can spend some more time on another roundup because I think
That's a wrap.
that's, I don't know. What do you guys feel? I think
Well,
we've kind of,
I wondered if we could just like, because when Marija was saying, I get on these roundups and I feel so overwhelmed. I remember as a studio owner doing the same thing and being like,
Totally.
shit, now I have like a million things going through my head. I don't even know where to start. So maybe just say, if you're overwhelmed by hearing this, what is the one thing or the 2 or 3 steps? Like, what is the first thing that you need to do before, like, what's your takeaway from this?
yeah.
So,
Great
any
call out.
ideas?
Marija, what are you going to do?
What's your takeaway?
I don't know yet.
Well, no, that's sorry. That's not a good answer. You got to give us what is your main takeaway from this, because that's what we want to model, practice what we preach. So what is the takeaway from this for you? What is
Well, I'm going to sit down and do my goals. Like I'm going to like put some thought into like what I want to do next year. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna like really be honest with myself.
great?
That's
So
great. Like like we said, a revenue goal,
Yeah,
target,
personal.
revenue target, and a personal. Sometimes the impact, like especially as a new studio owner, we were like, you know what, take that out of it
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's too much to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
So if you just have your revenue target and your personal target,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
like
think so
start there.
too. Because like I feel like everything I'm doing is making an impact. Like there was there's nothing here before,
right,
you know,
right.
and like people are coming here being like, thank you for just being here.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And there,
So
I will say, I have one of my clients is because Major rebranded. They have, I think I mentioned, but they have one target only.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's it. They're like, this is mission critical for us. So,
Yeah.
and that's okay too.
That
So if
is.
you're thinking I have to have, no, you don't have to have multiple goals. You can have multiple targets. You can have one. You have one target with one couple of conditions with a couple of strategies, and that's it. And that is very, very impactful. Okay, so this is what we say. Okay, you're going to sit down and do a deep think on this. When are you going to do it? Put it on, tell us, when are you going to do that and write it in your calendar? That is the task. This is why we do that. This is what we did last week. Okay, I need to schedule time to sit down and do this. So Marija, when are you going to do this?
well, there's no time like the present. I might do it today.
I don't want to hear might. I don't want to hear might. You're going to do that
I'm
today.
gonna do it today.
Good. And you're going to report back to us in the coaches chat and Slack that you did this.
Love
Because
Yes.
this is what we do at the summit. Because here's the thing, you come back with all these ideas. You're like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to sit down and give a deep think. And then fuck, it doesn't happen because you don't
Yeah,
have time to
totally.
sit down and do the deep
And that
think.
happens all the time.
All the
Yeah.
time. So
All the
we were
time.
like last week, okay, first step, schedule 4 hours on your calendar to do this thing. So Marija's going to schedule an hour on her calendar today to do a deep think. Okay.
Yeah.
Bridget, what's your takeaway?
I'm also going to do my goals. I have not done my 2026 goals yet. And then the other takeaway that
When are you to do that?
when am I going to do that? I am going to do that Monday.
Okay,
Because I have another thing I want to do over the next couple days.
that's fine. But you're going to do it Monday. You're going to put it on your calendar.
Yeah, I'm totally going to put it on my calendar for Monday. And then the other takeaway I had was I am resistant to time blocking. I am a little, yeah, I just have a little resistance around it, but I am imagining a way that I could do it in a different way for me that was like a little bit less rigid. And I've got some pretty clear sort of buckets of things that I'm working on right now in my business. And I do want, like, there's a couple, like, for specifically fucking emails and social media is taking up so much of my fucking time right now. And so creating marketing emails and social media, I'm going to put that on a day and I'm just going to bust it out every single day. And then maybe I can follow that with a couple other little buckets. So I'm going to pick a day.
And do that. Okay, so here's the strategy for the social media specifically, because we talked a lot about that last week.
Yeah.
Is you're not going to do it all in one day. It's like you can't do the content, write the script you did, and do the filming and do the post. That's too much for your brain to do. So it's like, okay, on this day, I'm going to sit down and spend 1 hour on content.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to then spend this time writing the script. I'm going to do this day and film. I'm going to do this day and edit and get them ready and schedule the post. That's 4 things. So instead of saying, I'm going to make some content for social media, I'm going to do social media. That's a big thing. So break it down because those 4 steps. So in one day, you can you can create the list of content for, let's say, a month. And you just do that. And then, okay, now the next step, I'm going to write the scripts for each of these things because each one of these steps takes different brain space.
Yeah. I think other people might be doing more with social media. I'm not writing any scripts for social media. I'm just taking videos and photos and stuff. But I do get your point. I can at least break those 2 things down a bit more.
Right. So it's like, okay, do the content. This is the content I want. Okay, now today's the day I'm going to do the videos or pull the photos.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to do the edit. Then I'm going to do the post, schedule the post. Because when you chunk it out like that, you can get a lot more done than spending 4 hours on one post kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love that. Cool.
Carol.
Good. You guys have your days set to think about these things. I love it. So that's a wrap on this week's weekly roundup. Tune in every Friday and make sure you subscribe to Studio Cult TV on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you're listening from. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.